use mathematical or computer science jargon in order to avoid any hurdle for non-technical listeners. However, the book introduces and explains the necessary terminology needed to join the discussion and to understand other publications about the blockchain. No mathematics and no formulas. Major elements of the blockchain, such as cryptography and algorithms, are based on complex mathematical concepts, which in turn come with their own demanding and sometimes frightening mathematical notations and formulas. However, this book deliberately does not use any mathematical notation or formulas in order to avoid any unnecessary complexity or hurdle for non-technical listeners. Incremental steps through the problem domain. The chapters in this book are called steps for a good reason. These steps form a learning path that incrementally builds the knowledge about the blockchain. The order of the steps was chosen carefully. They cover the fundamentals of software engineering, explain the terminology, point out the reason why the blockchain is needed, and explain the individual concepts that make up the blockchain as well as their interactions. Calling the individual chapters steps highlights their dependence and their didactical purpose. They form a logical sequence to be followed, instead of being chapters that could be heard independently. Use of metaphors and analogies. Each step that introduces a new concept starts with a pictorial explanation by referring to a situation from real life. These metaphors serve four major purposes. First, they prepare the listener for introduction to a new technical concept. Second, by connecting a technical concept to an easy-to-understand real-world scenario, the metaphors reduce the mental hurdle to discover a new territory. Third, metaphors allow learning new concepts by similarities and analogies. Finally, metaphors provide rules of thumb for memorizing new concepts. How this book is organized. This book consists of 25 steps grouped into 5 major stages that altogether form a learning path, which incrementally builds your knowledge of the blockchain. These steps cover some fundamentals of software engineering, explain the required terminology, point out the reasons why the blockchain is needed, explain the individual concepts that make up the blockchain as well as their interactions, consider applications of the blockchain, and mention areas of active development and research. Stage 1. Terminology and technical foundations. Steps 1 to 3 explain major concepts of software engineering and set the terminology necessary for understanding the succeeding steps. By the end of Step 3, you will have gained an overview of the fundamental concepts and an appreciation of the big picture in which the blockchain is located. Stage 2. Why the blockchain is needed. Steps 4 to 7 explain why the blockchain is needed, what problem it solves, why solving this problem is important, and what potential the blockchain has. By the end of Step 7, you will have gained a good understanding of the problem domain in which the blockchain is located, the environment in which it provides the most value, and why it is needed in the first place. Stage 3. How the blockchain works. The third stage is the centerpiece of this book, since it explains how the blockchain works internally. Steps 8 to 21 guide you through 15 distinct technical concepts that altogether make up the blockchain. By the end of Step 21, you will have reached an understanding of all the major concepts of the blockchain, how they work in isolation, and how they interact in order to create the big machinery that is called the blockchain. Stage 4. Limitations and how to overcome them. Steps 22 to 23 focus on major limitations of the blockchain, explain their reasons, and sketch possible ways to overcome them. By the end of Step 23, you will understand why the original idea of the blockchain as explained in the previous steps may not be suitable for large-scale commercial applications, what changes were made to overcome these limitations, and how these changes altered the properties of the blockchain. Stage 5. Using the blockchain, summary, and outlook. Steps 24